From the studios of IRSC Public Media, this is RiverTalk, presented by Indian River State College. Now, here's your host, Laura Midkiff.
Today, I am deeply honored to have Dr. Timothy Moore, the Indian River State College president, as my guest on RiverTalk. Welcome, Dr. Moore.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Laura. I'm glad to be here.
I'm super excited.
Can't tell. I wish there'd be some enthusiasm in your voice.
I know. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell you a quick story.
All right, here it goes.
As we all know, Dr. Moore is probably the best storyteller we know, so I'm preempting him here with one of my own. When I was considering applying for a job at Indian River State College, I did a fair amount of research looking at who my boss would be, what her history was, etc. But I also did some research on you and came across a number of videos, and it was your enthusiasm and your immediate love of this place and wanting to grow it, change it, bring it into the future that really inspired me to take the job.
I appreciate that. That'll be the only compliment I give you during this whole
I realize that, and I probably won't speak at all the rest of the time.
Okay, very good. No, thank you. It's very kind of you. It's not fake enthusiasm. It really is. It's a passion for what we're trying to do. And as we go in our interview today, I hope I can share this with your listeners that I think higher education is broken. It's broken fundamentally. It's broken from a business model standpoint. It's broken spiritually because we've lost sight of what the hell we're actually here to do. Okay, we're here to actually change lives through the power of education. It's the greatest equilibrator in the world. You can change a person's life by giving them the ability to hold their head up and think and assimilate knowledge and combine it with experience to apply to problems. That's what the educational journey is all about. And yet somehow we've fallen in love with SAT scores, pedigree, and other nonsense. In reality, it's all about this young group of people coming to us to get jobs. At the end of the day, you're changing their lives so they can have an American dream, get unemployment, pay for their household, pay for their expenses, and raise their family. That's what this is all about. Everything else is simply a distortion of reality.
When do you think that changed?
That's a great question. I've gone back to this, and I'll give you a couple of points, and this is why, to your listeners, why I believe American education's drifted horribly off course. As a geneticist, I'll tell you, it's called genetic drift. You think you're going north-south, you're actually going kind of northeast, right? You're going off another direction. You go back and look at the founding of the American land-grant institutions under Abraham Lincoln, 1862 Morrill Act, the 1890 Secondary Morrill Act, which was for black schools. It was all designed to take agrarian, uneducated Americans and put them in the educational enterprise so they'd be prepared for the Industrial Revolution. And it worked. It worked extraordinarily well, and we became a powerhouse of manufacturing. The second period of time where I think we had it right was following the World War II. We had 12 million service members came back with the GI Bill. They didn't have pedigrees. They didn't have high school diplomas. They didn't have 1600s on the SAT score. They came back and rolled their sleeves up and went to work. And American universities trained them all. If you go back and look at the historical imagery of that time, they were living in huts and shanties and boarding houses to get an education. They had no money, and they launched themselves and became the greatest generation. But in 80 years hence, we've lost our direction. We've begun to weaponize the smart kids in our society against the very principles of this nation. That's wrong. American education is to edify, not put in some kind of ideology or myth about what this country is or isn't. Give the students the facts. Let them take their value proposition from their homes, from their own experiences in life, and figure out what they're about. America is a unique, ideal place. There's no other thing like it on earth, and education has been the greatest equilibrator for the human condition ever, and yet we've distorted that. So when I got this opportunity to come here, my goal was to do three things. One, strip off the veneer of what education used to be and make it what it needs to be. That is to get this young person on a line of sight, Occam's razor, from A to B to be able to get a job. The second thing is infuse them with certain components that you're not going to find in other educational enterprises, which is the ability to have entrepreneurism. Innovation is the key to your success in life. Hence, we have a patent attorney free to all our students and staff and faculty. And the other part is to make sure that we have a strong contingent of veterans and veteran dependents that are here. Because without that, the average citizen has no encounter with a veteran or a service member or someone who's lost someone in the service of the country, and we've lost that connection, that connective tissue between what provides these freedoms we enjoy and what the cost of those freedoms are. And that's what we've done. So you're watching now, we got 5% of our student population are the veterans or veteran dependents and so forth. It's deliberate. It's deliberate actions to make sure we beat the ecosystem with the right parts so that this young person comes out and goes, I got skills, I've got an ability to think, I know how to hunt and kill for myself and feed my family if I need to, I know how to innovate, and I know what it costs to be free.
Absolutely. So you've been the president of Indian River State College for almost 4 years.
Yes, ma'am.
September 1st, 4 years. What are some of the highlights?
Oh, my gosh.
And Dr. Moore, could you just give us maybe two?
Okay. The Promise Program. The Promise Program, it was a Hail Mary response to declining enrollment. We were down 35% in enrollment, and this is typical across all higher ed space. We have 1.5 million fewer students going to school today than we did in 2019. We had to reverse that trend, or we've been some very, as we say in Alabama, sure enough times, hard times. And we are able to put together philanthropy, the power of philanthropy to change lives, giving high school graduates the opportunity to go to college tuition free for 2 years. And that's been remarkable. The second thing is, I think, the unshackling of our team. The ability for them to think and innovate and create on their own. And because of that, we're now encountering opportunities that are being dealt with, managed, captured, and put to use in the college. And it doesn't rise to my level. There's not a single point failure in the decision-making process. It's distributed leadership across the college.
I love hearing that from you. I had a one-on-one meeting with my boss yesterday. And one of the things I said to her at the end of the meeting was, thank you so much for being a great manager, because you don't micromanage me. You trust me. You trust my creativity, and I'm able to just do what I do. And
Isn't it fun?
It is.
It's fun.
It makes every day fun. I love working here.
I tell people all the time, most folks are used to working in a box. Some people act as if the box has some borders to it. I tell people there is no box. There's no bounding range limit of what we can become or do or what we want to achieve or attain, because it's a power of ingenuity. But it takes people to believe in leadership. I don't call it management. I call it leaders. Leaders lead, managers manage. We're about leading people, and leading people is empowering them. You trust them. You tell them what our core values are, and you let them go off and go do it. As I tell people here, I have the rule of three things. One, we mission, students, and community. Right? It's about the world-class education, the most affordable price with the greatest number of attributes. Why? So that young person that comes to us gets changed. It becomes a mature, functioning member of society, able to employ and do great things. And the last part is, because 77% of our graduates stay in the 4 counties and 96% stay in the state of Florida, we change that young person, we change the communities. You don't like society's tone, watch what we can do with them if you do it right. And it's not about indoctrination. It's about empowerment through education, the ability to think, to solve problems, and do and dream and aspire. That's what education is supposed to do. Anything else is just an aberration of what we're trying to become, right?
Okay, so walk me through this scenario. You wake up in the morning, and what is it that excites you?
I love to solve problems. I love problem solving. The ability to solve problems is great. And once you get through enough of those and you begin to put the team around you and they're inspired, then you have the second luxury, which is time to think. Leaders get to think, they get to imagine, they get to dream, they get to look around the corner. My job is not the day-to-day mission anymore. My job is looking 18, 24, 36 months down the road. I'm looking for threats and opportunities, weaknesses and strengths. How do I posture our college to do more, right? Even though we're a state college, or what some would call the community college, or what they used to call the college of last choice because you can't get in anywhere else, that's a stigma. That's a stigma of elitism versus it's just education, right? Intellectual awakening is what we're doing here. That's all it is. And now you're looking at high school students in, say, Sebastian River High School. Years ago, 10 top graduates of the high school, 1 might come to us. The last 2 years, all 10 of the top performing kids in the class are coming to River State College. There's a value proposition they're recognizing, and they're going, why spend money to get a world-class education when I can get it right at home at almost nothing? Since 97% of our kids graduate debt-free, isn't that the American dream? Isn't that what it's about? Why spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month for the rest of your life servicing a debt for an education when English is English, math is math, history is history, chemistry is chemistry, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
I loved your answer, solving problems. Is that something that you have been doing, your entire life? Could I envision 7-year-old Tim Moore?
Oh my God, 7-year-old Tim Moore was ADHD and probably dyslexic and was a mess. And I didn't know I was smart. And I went to high school where I met my bride. She was a good student, smart lady, very smart, smarter than I am. And I underperformed. And I can tell you, I can resonate with our kids that come in and go. They feel like, man, the K through 12 space was just not kind to me. And I've got this black cloud called underperformance. And I know I'm better than that, but nobody's ever going to believe me because my grades say something else. And it takes people to believe in you. to prop you up, to challenge you, to punch you in the face or kick you in the butt or hug you or whatever's going to be required to be able to achieve your full potential. And when you realize you can do it, it's the most I always tell the students here, there's 3 things you get out of a college degree, and there's only 3 things you're going to get. And that is that, 1, you learn how to take a test because every professor asks the question differently. How was Dr. Laura? Oh, she's so easy. Just study the PowerPoints and drink a beer and you're going to make an A. And you make that A. Are you smart? No, you're clever. You game the system. What's the second thing you learn in college? You learn how to speak and you learn how to write. Because I don't care how talented, brilliant you are, if you cannot convey ideas to others, then you're of absolutely no value to yourself. And lastly, the most important thing you get out of a college degree, any college degree, Mickey Mouse U, Harvard University, or Indian River State College, is you learn how you learn. Everybody goes, well, that sounds kind of silly. I mean, we all do that. No. Laura, you may be an auditory learner. I sit in a room and I hear the words and they infuse my mind. Or I'm a visual learner. I watch something on TV and I retain it. Or I have to study and highlight and do whatever, right? Once you learn how you learn, because what is learning? Learning is taking disparate facts, putting them in this brain housing unit, combining with experience to create knowledge to solve problems.
For our listeners, Dr. Moore, tell us a little bit more about our students at Indian River State College.
Right. Oh my gosh. You know, I can say this to you truthfully. Your husband served in the Army. I served in the Army. I was not a soft-serve marshmallow kind of milkshake kind of guy. I was very hardcore, did my job. I've raised 3 sons. I believe in being firm, not hard or ugly to them. But I've been moved more to tears in this job in the 4 years I've been here than I have anywhere else in my career. And maybe I'm getting old and just losing perspective. But the stories are compelling. You have a kid that's homeless, living in his car and works in a Subway sandwich shop. And one of our staff members says, I see something in you. Why don't you come to my college and enroll? And turns out the kid's a savant. Finds out that he has a disharmonious home life. He's been in and out of foster care. He has no economic security. He has no housing security. He has no meal security. And yet here he is by the grace of God. And then you realize this kid graduates with honors and goes off to UCF and becomes an engineering student and going to go off to the Space Coast and build rockets. And yet that person would never have achieved their full God-given potential had someone not found him. So I see these kids all the time, and their stories are remarkable to me. And they start off as shy, they won't look in the eye, and after 2 years you can't get them to shut up. They're just doing their thing. They own the world. They got moxie. They've got that confidence that comes with intellectual awakening.
I feel the same way you do. This job, and I've only been here 13 months, this job has moved me more than I would have ever imagined. I could get teary right now. But listeners, this is Laura Midkiff. You're listening to River Talk. We'll be back after the break with Dr. Timothy Moore, president of Indian River State College. And I have many more questions for him, so come on back. Welcome back. This is Laura Midkiff. You're listening to River Talk. We've been talking with Dr. Timothy Moore, president of Indian River State College. Dr. Moore, here's something I have thought about a lot in my role as a development officer and as the person who directs alumni relations. How do we connect with our Treasure Coast community to highlight all the extraordinary things we offer our students?
That's a great question, and I'll tell you why. We have a unique hybrid community in the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee. You have exceptionally high net worth individuals. You have folks that are barely making it. You can be in Vero Beach, where the top 1% are earning over $3 million a year as a family. You can be in Wabasa in the same county, and they don't have indoor plumbing. Okay, yet both of those communities need us. Well, I'm rich. I don't need you. Yes, you do. Because the lifestyle you live on the Treasure Coast, if you're wealthy, is dependent on the mesentery, the connective tissue of all the other people that put your life together for you. HVAC, plumbing, car repair, medical personnel, nurses, x-ray techs, emergency management, law enforcement, fire. That all comes from our school. So when people talk to me about our Promise program, they go, I don't believe in free education. Nor do I. But I do believe in taking the educational cost down to the lowest possible functional equation and use philanthropy to change lives. What's the difference? Scholarship or contribute to the Promise program? It's still putting a person through school who may not have the means to get there to achieve the American dream, just as you had, right? Second thing is, our folks that are disadvantaged and socially, economically in a bad spot, we've got to reach them. So we've done a lot through the faith-based leaders to be able to reach out to their congregations to make sure they and believe in themselves, that they can try to come in. And what we've seen now with our Promise program, we're talking about reaching out, folks. I'll give you something for all our listeners. When you look at this year's enrollment at our college, 50.9%, 50.9% of our incoming class are first-generation college students. That means there's nobody in their families who've ever been to school, ever had any formal education beyond high school. That's a remarkable statement. It's a remarkable story, and it's a remarkable opportunity to change lives and improve the citizenry of our district and the state and the world. And it takes philanthropy to help us do that. So these folks out there that have the means and think, well, what do I give my dollars to? Change a life. Change a life at the lowest functional cost you possibly can and watch magic unfold. For those that say, I don't know if I can or should or whatnot, as I relate to you when we were off air, I was a lousy student. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have the self-confidence. I didn't have the study skills. I was attention deficit. Everything was a attention deficit kid in a polka dotted room. I was looking at everything else other than what I should have been focused on. But when you realize that God gives you certain unique skills, and you look at your attention deficit, it means you can do 14 things at one time, where most people can do maybe one. Is that a problem? No, it's a power, but you got to learn how to use it, right? And the same thing goes for our kids. I was on a meeting with some high school students, and a young man said, "I'm autistic. Is there a place for me?" I said, "Absolutely there is. And more importantly, God's given you a special skill that I don't possess. It's just different than what I do. Doesn't mean you're bad or broken or anything else. It just means we got to figure out how to use that special power to your greatest advantage." Right? It's about inspiring people, and that's what education's about. It's not a gatekeeper, it's a gate opener.
Absolutely.
So to answer your question about how we reach them, radio broadcasts, we retain Redline Media. We're going to start doing some stuff that the Hard Rock Casinos and the John Wick movies and Kia and Hyundai have used. We're using them for our top-line strategic media components. We're using our friends at Ironsides and Vero Beach to help make sure that we get on our videos and TikTok and all those kind of things to make sure the story gets out. Because it's a world-class, life-changing story going on here, but we've got to tell people.
Absolutely, without a doubt. It's become decreasingly clear what purpose a 4-year degree should serve. Can you speak a little bit about an actual college degree versus vocational training?
Sure can. I was a classically trained liberal arts student. My father went to Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and I had no interest in going there, but it was his money, his decision. That's where I went, and I absolutely hated it. I met some great people. I learned a little bit, but I also had a healthy contempt for the system, the way it was structured. There were very rich people that went to school there. I never met my president, didn't know anybody in the administration, didn't see him until the day I graduated. And I vowed then I would never, if I ever got in a role like that, ever sometime in my life, I wouldn't be like that. But you're looking at, there's an awakening in American culture right now. Is it worth, and Wofford now is probably $70,000 or $75,000 a year to get an undergraduate degree. $75,000 a year. I don't believe there's any job you're going to get for 10 years that's going to pay you any kind of money close enough to what that cost is going to be incurred. I think Americans are going through the value proposition. Is it necessary? And right now they're making bad decisions, and that is they're equating the cost and value. They're not the same propositions, okay? The value of an education is incalculable. The cost of the education is calculable, and we can control that. The way you do that is you've got to look at building your career differently than I went through, which is 4 years with to this, to that, a history class, a chemistry class, and a partridge in a pear tree, and poof, you got an undergraduate degree. That model was built in a time when corporate America would take an idiot like me and put you into, or the Army would put you in a training program and give you the operational leadership skills to do the job. We have cut all that out in American business. It's too expensive. We're expecting the employee to come in ready to go day one, and they don't have those skills. What we do here is we put a lot of functional time in for our students here. Hands-on, learn by doing, whether that's EMS, X-ray tech, this, that, and the other. There's lots of contact time dealing with people while you're getting a little bit of the other architecture of higher education. And then if they choose to go on to go to work, they out-earn a University of Florida graduate who's got 4 years of degree under their belt. With a 2-year degree here at this college, you're out-earning about $17,000 a year with no debt.
Right.
Life-changing. So education is about getting to the next phase. There are people who are brilliant, and they're going to go on to be professionals and so forth and so on, and that's what they should do. God love them. But at the end of the day, not everybody's built for that same journey. And education is not a must do it at this time and then you're done for life. I'm living proof of that. Undergraduate, Army for 4 years, graduate school, master's degree, out, 21 years separation until I got my PhD. I was a functionally different person at 46 than I was at 22, right? I had different experiences. I had adult children at that point in time. I can remember sitting in class and the young students would go, "Whose father are you? Are you an auditor? Are you a proctor for the, are you sure you're not somebody's dad in the class?" And you're going, "Shut up, you little punk. You don't know what you're talking about." It was all about trying to get my learn on, right? At the end of the day, education comes when we're ready for it. But you need to have that basic block. And so why are we pushing so hard with Promise to get kids in first? Because you know what? Study skills, whatever they may be, atrophy promptly. The mind goes from developing and retaining, and there's a metabolic price to have memory and recall and structure and thinking. And if we go to watch TikTok videos and cartoons and eat at McDonald's all day long, we lose that. All right? So you've got to stay sharpened. And that's what we're trying to do. Get them in, get them out within a couple of years, and then they're at a dwell point. Do I want to go on? Do I have other dreams I didn't have 2 years ago that I now possess today? Do I have the skills to interview for the job that I want, and how do I go do that? That's what this is about. And then they've got an architecture they're standing on versus I'm 35, 2 kids, divorced once, and I don't know what I'm going to do, and I don't have any degree. Right?
Right.
There's the difference. And we as a society would prefer the young person to come here at least for 2 years and get something where they can actually do a functional job. What's a functional job? Well, let's say he wants to be an automotive mechanic. Okay? Well, my son's not going to be a grease monkey, or my daughter's not going to be a grease monkey. True. But if you look at dealerships and the actual maintenance floors, they're cleaner than a computer lab because they're running computers on wheels. And a kid with a level 3 technical degree in automotive mechanics and whatnot can earn over $100,000 a year.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you want to buy your Audi, you got to have somebody repair it. That person's being paid $150,000 a year. That's a living wage in my book.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a nurse gets out here $37, $38, $39 a year, and that's just with an RN degree. Wait till she gets a BS or he gets a BSN degree or goes on to get a master's degree. Then they become incalculably more valuable. And we are about workforce at this college, and workforce has the proper word in it, which is work. It's putting people to work. It's building their brand through work, and that work builds pride. That pride builds ownership. That ownership becomes commitment to community. That's what we're building as American citizenry. Their success is not baked in the cake here. There's no silver spoon, zip code, or DNA that makes them special. They just come in with fear and apprehension like every other kid, and they come in here and they come out of here adults. They come out here functional, looking up and down range of what they can become. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. It is a great place to grow.
It is.
It really, really is. What's been your proudest moment as president in the last 4 years?
You know, it's something that your listeners probably won't even understand or care about. When I got hired here in 2020, I signed into my human resources department, and I was gobsmacked when I looked at the health care plan that our employees have. Horrible. With a family of 4, you're paying $1,200, $1,400 a month in premiums. That's insane. And I'd come from an SUS school, a state university school, and we were paying $180 for a family of 4 or 5 or 6. I'm like, well, why don't we have that? So I went to my peers, 27 other presidents out of the 28 colleges, and I said, this is wrong. This is just morally unethical what we're doing to our own teammates. And here was a comment I got back. This goes back to hubris. Well, I don't care. If they want health care, they can become an administrator and get health care paid for by the college. And you're going, huh? How does a groundskeeper or a janitor or a custodial staff or anybody else who's just doing our basic work for us, how are they going to make it? And my teammates, my peers were like, whatever, we don't care. I'm like, that's wrong. So we fought through, and I got laughed at. I got laughed at by my peers. I got laughed at the first year in the House and the Senate in Tallahassee, and then I challenged them. I smacked them in the face and said, this is what we're going to do. This year, starting January 1, everybody in the Florida college system is converting over to the state health care plan and getting management wage. And I'll tell you why it's a proud moment for me. I had a team member of ours that came in yesterday, and I said, I'm glad to see you're always smiling now. When I first got here, you never smiled. He says, it's a better place to work today. And I said, well, great. And he said, but I want to thank you. And I said, for what? He said, I'm getting a mortgage payment back starting in January because I'm not paying $1,000, $1,400 a month, whatever it is, for health care. That is my proudest moment.
That is a beautiful story, and I'm looking forward to January
Me too.
as well.
Me too.
We've got about a minute left, and considering the fact that you are the president of our college and our academic year is about to begin, what message would you like to share with our students?
Oh, my gosh. First of all, I'm glad you said yes. I always tell the team that if it's not illegal, immoral, unethical, we're going to get the most powerful word in the English language. We're going to get the yes. I'm glad you took us at yes and came on board. The second thing is this. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of suboptimal performance. Take it as feedback that challenges you to do more. And the last thing is this. No matter how many times you get knocked down, no matter how many times you feel like you can't do it, no matter how many times whatever it is, make sure you reach out to somebody. Don't suffer in silence. Don't suffer in isolation. You have a network of people. And what I commend our students on is the Student Government Association and the clubs they've got. Those kids are all in it to win it, and they all champion each other. I don't care, red, purple, green, blue, yellow. It doesn't matter. It's just championing each other, and that's what it's about. It's a journey together, and they look back, and it's interesting to watch them. I'll leave you with this. I don't want to leave. I want to stay here for my next phase of my education or whatever. That's a great compliment because they've grown and become something, and they're wistful about what they're leaving behind.
Dr. Moore, I could talk with you probably for the next 2 or 3 hours. And
anytime I'll come back, just holler.
Really?
Really.
You heard it here. It was such a pleasure talking
My
with you
honor
today.
as well. Thank you for what you do.
Honored to.
Yep.
Thank you for your leadership and for providing our Indian River State College family with a true north, one of your key phrases. I'm Laura Midkiff, and you've been listening to River Talk here on Indian River State College Public Media. Thank you for joining us today.
Join us again next time for River Talk from Indian River State College, a production of IRSC Public Media.